Great Escape is that kind of movie that grabs you straight by the collar and refuses to let go. Steve McQueen tearing it up on a motorcycle, Charles Bronson grinding through the dirt, and one of the boldest prison break stories ever shown on screen. It's all non-stop energy, but behind the barbed wire, the tension, and that unforgettable march, there's a whole stash of secrets most fans never even caught on to. We're talking real-life war heroes blending into the background like it's nothing, a low-key love triangle nobody expected, and one absolutely insane stunt fact we're saving for last. This story goes way deeper than it looks, and yeah, it gets wild fast, so lock in, because tonight we're digging deep into 15 strange, shocking facts that hit different once you know them. Number 1. McQueen was literally chasing himself in that legendary motorcycle scene. Near the end of the film, Steve McQueen didn't just play the hero. Director John Sturges let him suit up in a German soldier's uniform and jump in as one of the riders chasing himself. Yeah, for real. Through some slick editing, McQueen is tearing across the Bavarian countryside as both the one escaping and the one hunting him down. He was that good on a bike, no stunt double needed for those shots, and Sturges knew it was too clean not to use him twice. It adds a whole new layer to the scene once you know what's really going on behind the camera. Next time you watch that chase, pay close attention to the German riders. One of them moves just a little too smooth, way too confident to be just another extra. That's McQueen, cool as ever, playing both sides of the chase in the same moment. Number 2, the real Tunnel King was actually right there on set. Wally Floody, the true-life inspiration behind Charles Bronson's character, Danny the Tunnel King, wasn't just a story, he was the real deal. Floody was a Canadian fighter pilot who got shot down, captured, and sent to Stalag Luft 3, where he became the top tunnel engineer running the whole operation. Here's the twist, he was transferred out just weeks before the real escape went down, which most likely saved his life. When Hollywood stepped in, they didn't guess the detail. They brought Floody in himself. He worked as a full-time consultant for over a year, walking around the set, checking the tunnel builds, and making sure everything looked exactly how it should. Imagine acting out those scenes while the man who actually dug those tunnels is standing right there watching. It must have made every moment hit way harder. Number 3, Bronson's real claustrophobia hits way deeper than most people realize. Charles Bronson wasn't just acting when his character Danny started losing it inside those tight tunnels. He was pulling straight from real-life experience. Bronson genuinely struggled with claustrophobia off-screen too, and it didn't come out of nowhere. As a young man, he worked in the coal mines of Pennsylvania, grinding through long hours underground in cramped, suffocating spaces that stick with a person forever. That kind of trauma doesn't just fade out. It followed him for life. So when Sturges cast him as the Tunnel King, Bronson didn't need to pretend much at all. He brought this raw, heavy, personal energy into every underground scene, and it shows in every drop of sweat and every flicker of panic in his eyes. No acting tricks could fake that level of intensity. That was real pressure, real memory right there on screen. It turns those tunnel moments into something way more intense, like cinema, and real life crashing into each other in the darkest way possible. Number 4, Donald Pleasence wasn't just acting like a prisoner of war, he actually lived it. This fact still hits hard. Donald Pleasence, who played the soft-spoken forger Blythe, was a real World War II POW in real life, and that changes everything about his performance. He served in the Royal Air Force as a wireless operator in Gunner, and during one mission, his Lancaster bomber was shot down over France. He was captured and held at Stalag Luft 1 until the war finally ended. So when you're watching those camp scenes, you're not just seeing an actor, you're watching someone who went through something terrifyingly similar for real. When Pleasence first stepped onto the set and saw the massive replica camp, he was reportedly shaken by how accurate and hauntingly real it looked. He even tried giving director Sturges advice on how to make certain scenes more authentic, but at first, he was told to hold back his input. That alone says everything about how deeply personal this film was for some of the people involved. Number 5, Richard Harris almost became the mastermind behind it all as Big X. Before Richard Attenborough stepped in as Squadron Leader Bartlett, the role was actually lined up for Richard Harris. He had already made a name for himself in intense war films like The Guns of Navarone, so the part felt like it was practically written for him. But things took a sharp turn when his other project, This Sporting Life, ran into delays and went way over schedule. That timing issue forced Harris to drop out at the last minute, leaving a sudden gap in the cast, and that's where everything shifted. Richard Attenborough stepped in almost immediately and delivered one of the most controlled, commanding performances of his entire career. When do you intend to try this? When do you intend to try it? Oh, tonight. It's wild to think how one scheduling clash on a completely different film reshaped the leadership dynamic of The Great Escape. Sometimes it's not the plan that decides the outcome, it's pure timing stepping in and changing everything without warning. Number 6, homemade barbed wire is crazier than it sounds. Every bit of barbed wire you see was actually built by hand by casting crew. During downtime, everyone from Steve McQueen to even the catering team had to sit down and twist thin black rubber strips around long cords over and over, turning fake materials into something that looked painfully real on camera. They built miles of it, and it all had to look convincing enough to fool your eyes. It was long, repetitive, and honestly exhausting work, but nobody got a free pass. Hours stacked into hours, knot after knot, and most people watching would never even realize it happened unless they were told. That's the level of detail they went to, and it's exactly why the film still feels so real today. Next time those massive fences show up on screen, remember this: Hollywood's biggest names were literally sitting there tying knots by hand. Number 7, that motorcycle is basically a time traveler hiding in plain sight. The bike Steve McQueen rides in his iconic escape scene is actually a 1962 Triumph TR6 trophy. The only problem is the story takes place in 1944, so yeah, that timeline doesn't line up at all. To cover it up, the filmmakers stripped down the bike, removed modern details, and roughed it up to make it look like it belonged in the war era. But sharp-eyed motorcycle fans have been spotting that mismatch for years, calling out the anachronism every time it shows up on screen. Here's the twist: none of that motorcycle action was even part of the real escape story. It was all McQueen's idea from the start. He reportedly pushed hard to include riding scenes, even saying he wouldn't do the film unless he could get on a bike. And honestly, that bold demand ended up changing everything, because that chase turned into one of the most legendary sequences in film history. We'll circle back to that motorcycle again later with a bonus detail, and it gets even crazier. Number 8, James Garner wasn't acting like a scrounger, he was one in real life. James Garner, who plays Henley, didn't just study the role, he basically lived a version of it before Hollywood ever got involved. He served in the Korean War where he was wounded twice, and during that time he built a reputation for being incredibly sharp at scrounging supplies, trading favors, and finding things nobody else could get their hands on. Sounds familiar, right? That's exactly the same energy his character brings into the camp, always moving smart, always finding a way. Garner didn't stop there either. He went deeper by interviewing real World War II POWs who had actually worked as scroungers inside German prison camps. He wanted to understand every layer of it: the quick thinking, the charm, the calculated risk-taking, and that survival instinct that kicks in under pressure. So when you watch him on screen, it's not just performance, it's someone pulling from real wartime experience and turning it into pure instinct right in front of the camera. Number 9, the love triangle nobody saw coming hits like something straight out of a script. This one sounds unreal, but it happened right in the middle of production. Charles Bronson met Jill Ireland on set, and here's the twist: she was married at the time to his co-star David McCallum. Things stayed light at first, and Bronson even joked to McCallum that he was going to steal his wife, half laughing like it meant nothing. Nobody took it seriously in the moment, but that comment aged in the most unexpected way possible. Fast forward just a few years and the story flips completely. Ireland and McCallum ended up divorcing, and in 1968 she married Bronson. The two stayed together for decades, right up until her passing in 1990, turning what started as a joke into one of Hollywood's most talked about behind-the-scenes stories. McCallum, for his part, handled everything with real composure and kept building a strong career of his own without getting pulled into the noise. It's one of those strange cases where a casual set moment quietly reshaped multiple lives, and it still gets talked about whenever this film comes up. Number 10, full-size working tunnels take the realism to another level. Most films would have gone the easy route with miniatures or clever camera tricks for underground scenes, but The Great Escape didn't play like that. The production team actually built full-size, fully functional tunnel sets from scratch, complete with wooden supports, rail tracks, and electric lighting, all designed to mirror the real escape tunnels dug by POWs at Stalag Luft 3, and that decision changes everything you feel while watching it. The result is this intense, suffocating atmosphere that feels almost unbearable at times. You can practically imagine the damp earth, the tight walls closing in, and the lack of space pressing down on every moment. There's no fake shortcut energy here at all. They didn't simulate the tunnels, they physically built them, and that choice hits you in every frame. It's exactly why those underground sequences still feel so claustrophobic and real, even decades later, like you're trapped right there inside them. Number 11, dodging real trains during the train sequences turns the whole shoot into a high-risk gamble. The crew didn't rely on miniatures or fake setups. They rented a real locomotive and even bought 2 condemned railway cars, then rigged them up to hold camera gear. They filmed everything on an active single-track line running between Munich and Hamburg, where timing was everything, and one mistake could have turned serious fast. A railway official stayed with them the entire time, constantly tracking incoming schedules and warning the team when real trains were closing in so they could clear the tracks just in time. Just imagine trying to nail a take while knowing a full-speed train could come blasting from the other direction at any moment. No second chances, no safety net, nothing. That pressure adds a real edge to every scene, making the tension feel even more alive on screen. Hollywood in the 60s didn't just aim for realism, it straight up flirted with danger like it was part of the job description. Number 12, the author wasn't just telling the story, he actually lived it. Paul Brickhill, the man who wrote The Great Escape, wasn't sitting far away doing research from a safe distance, he was right in the middle of it. Brickhill served as a Royal Australian Air Force pilot, and his Spitfire was shot down over Tunisia in 1943. After being captured, he was sent to Stalag Luft 3, the very same camp where the escape plans were unfolding. While there, he even helped with early escape preparations, but here's the twist, he was later pulled out of the actual breakout plans because of severe claustrophobia. After the war, he took everything he experienced and turned it into one of the most intense non-fiction accounts ever written. And that changes everything when you think about it. The words in that book don't come from imagination alone, they come from someone who walked those same cold grounds, breathed the same air, and lived through the same pressure firsthand. Number 13, McQueen's gold medallion adds a subtle but powerful layer to the whole film. Throughout The Great Escape, if you pay close attention, Steve McQueen is wearing a small gold medallion around his neck, and it wasn't just some random costume piece thrown in for effect. It was actually a personal gift from his wife, and he kept it close during filming as a kind of quiet good luck charm. Natalie Adams McQueen wore it with him through production, and director John Sturges noticed how naturally it caught the light on camera, so he made the decision to leave it in every scene without changing a thing. That tiny detail ends up blending real life straight into the character of Hiltz, in a way most viewers never consciously pick up on, but it's always there. Every time Hiltz bounces that baseball off the cooler wall, that medallion flickers in the light, almost like a hidden reminder of the world outside the camp. It's a small piece of home carried straight into a brutal fictional war setting, and it quietly shifts the emotional weight of every shot it appears in. Number 14, the speed trap incident feels like something straight out of McQueen's personality. While filming on location in Bavaria, local police actually set up a speed trap near the production area, and things quickly got out of hand. Several cast and crew members ended up getting pulled over for speeding, turning a normal shoot day into a real-world traffic crackdown right next to a movie set. And of course, Steve McQueen didn't just get caught, he topped the list. He won the unofficial prize for highest speed that day, proving once again he couldn't stay slow even when cameras weren't rolling. The police chief reportedly told him that while others were caught as well, McQueen had absolutely taken first place with ease. It's almost too perfect for the so-called king of cool. Even off camera, in the middle of rural Germany, he was still pushing limits like it was second nature. Whether it was a controlled film chase or an open Bavarian road, slowing down just didn't seem to be in his vocabulary at all. Number 15, the Commandant's secret past hits way deeper than it first looks. The actor who played German Commandant Colonel von Luger, Hans Messmer, wasn't just performing a role. He had his own wild wartime story to draw from. During World War II, Messmer was actually a prisoner of war himself, locked up in a Russian camp. He later escaped by walking hundreds of miles through hostile territory just to reach the German border, and yeah, he got wounded by Russian fire along the way. That kind of real-life experience doesn't just fade away, it stays with you for life. So when he steps on set as the calm, conflicted commandant of Stalag Luft 3, he's not guessing the emotions, he's pulling straight from memory and survival instinct. He understands captivity, escape, and that razor-thin line between captor and prisoner in a way most actors could never fake. That's what gives his performance that quiet, heavy energy that sneaks up on you without trying too hard. It's easily one of the most overlooked but powerful layers in the entire film. That's the kind of quiet courage this whole film is really built on. The Great Escape isn't just a movie, it hits like a feeling you can't shake. That march stays looping in your head for days. McQueen bouncing that baseball off the wall feels burned into your memory, and every moment carries that pressure of men staring down impossible odds. Knowing this all came from real events over 60 years ago, it's the kind of film that can make you sit still, laugh suddenly, and feel that tight knot in your chest all at once. If you enjoyed this ride behind the barbed wire, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share this with someone who loves classic films because this one deserves to stay alive in conversation. So tell us, what moment still gives you chills the most, and what should we break down next? Drop it in the comments because every single one gets read. Until next time.